The luggage was slowly pulled open from the inside, a long-legged beauty folded body hidden in the suitcase. Then she elegantly sat her day at the head of the bed and gently stroked the expensive silk bed sheets. The old man across from her smiled lewdly. He thought she was here to serve him. Villanelle stepped forward and closed the door. The old man was surprised to see such a beautiful birthday present. The old man couldn't walk away from the sight of a beautiful woman. But the next moment, the woman pulled out her hairpin. She put the hairpin directly into the old man's eyes. With a gentle push of her thumb, she injected him with poison. The woman watched as the old man knelt in front of her. She finally smiles with satisfaction. Villanelle is an elegant and bloodthirsty murderess. She looks happy and enjoyable after each kill. She even adorably raises the hands of the dead to say goodbye to them. In her spare time, Villanelle enjoys life to the fullest. She loves to shop. One minute she's tasting a delicious dessert. The next minute she's throwing over the ice cream in front of the girl. When Villanelle comes home, she drops her things when she meets her neighborhood lady coming down the stairs and stood in the same place to cheer her on. She waits until the grandmother is downstairs before asking if she needs any help. Villanelle is a professional killer. She's been a professional killer for nearly 2 years. She's made an extraordinary record in more than 10 countries in the last 2 years. But this time, she accidentally left behind an eyewitness. Eve, who works for MI6, received an urgent call to come to a meeting early Saturday morning. A Russian politician was killed by a killer who slashed his aorta as he walked out of a restaurant with his girlfriend. The crime scene was in a surveillance blind spot. His girlfriend, the only witness, was traumatized and is now in a state of delirium. Eve's main task now is to protect the witness. Villanelle's immediate supervisor, Constantine, also learned of the news. He orders her to take care of the problem immediately. Villanelle is confident that they won't catch her, but she still had to take the first-class seat to kill the witness. Villanelle arrives at the hospital in London. She met Eve in the bathroom, fixing her hair. The moment Villanelle looked up, she was attracted to Eve's mysterious charm. Before she left, she reminded Eve to let her hair down. However, when Eve came out of the bathroom again, the lobby of the hospital was silent. The police officers in the ward had been killed. The witness had lost his breath just as she arrived. Eve looked up all the hospital staff, only to discover that the woman she had seen in the bathroom was not a hospital staff member. She was sure that woman was the killer. The woman admired her delicate face and said it was beautiful. She then applied a thick layer of white powder to her face. She pulls out the pills and spreads them irregularly on the table. Villanelle then picks up the empty bottle and finds a comfortable position on the couch to play dead. At that moment, a man enters the room. He saw Villanelle lying motionless on the couch. He goes up to her to make sure she's still breathing. Villanelle is a professional assassin sent by Constantine. But lately, Villanelle has been acting up. Not only did she fail to follow instructions, she killed many uninvolved people. Constantine decided to send an expert from within the organization to give her a psychological test. For this purpose, Villanelle has been dressed up. She complimented someone on the shape of his legs in a picture of him being hanged. She laughed at the gruesome pictures. Constantine believes that in Villanelle's current state of mind, she can't continue with the mission for a while. He suggested she take some time off, but Villanelle couldn't take a moment off. She stole the mission card from Constantine. She gets the information about the next assassination target. Villanelle returns home and puts on her gas mask. She worked hard to create a bottle of toxic perfume. She opened her work closet and picked out a suit and a wig. Villanelle created a new costume for today's operation. She posed as a waitress and made her way into the reception where her target was staying, waiting for Rebecca to be left alone in the dressing room. Villanelle pretended to be a fan of hers. She said Rebecca's success inspired her to keep making perfume. Villanelle's first perfume was named after Rebecca. Rebecca was moved to pick up the perfume. Villanelle immediately got up and stepped back. Rebecca sprayed the perfume on her wrist and took a sharp breath. As a result, she immediately had difficulty breathing. Villanelle looked at the helpless woman on the ground, begging for help. She then smiled excitedly and said goodbye to her. But Villanelle had just returned home after killing someone. Constantine angrily grabbed her by the neck and pushed her against the wall because she had once again disobeyed his orders. But Villanelle wasn't afraid of him. If she kills Constantine, there will be another contact. He says a woman in London is leading a department just to find you. Instead of being scared, Villanelle felt a little excited to hear this. She happily takes out a bottle of champagne. Villanelle asks for the name of the woman investigating her. Villanelle immediately started searching for information about Eve. When she saw the photo, she realized Eve was the woman who had attracted her to the toilet that day. And Eve, who was far away from London, also figured out the clues. She realizes that she had a brush with the killer. The unbreakable connection between the two has been established. A cat and mouse game is about to take place. With a lot of tension and ambiguity, The special massage tools will serve the man. The female nurse is polishing a saw. She seriously asks the late-coming man to take off his clothes. Then the nurse straps the man to the operating table and puts an oxygen mask on him. The pressure of the nurse's presence makes the man more excited. Then she took a pair of pliers and inserted them into his lower body. Gradually the man went from a look of enjoyment to a frown. He could not bear the pain and gasped for breath and nervously shouted the safety word. But the nurse was oblivious. She even turned down the oxygen tank to the lowest level. The man who was tied to the dead body struggled desperately. The female nurse's face was indifferent. She turned the man's head and quietly admired the moment when his pupils dilated. Her heart is satisfied at this moment. She is the cold and elegant professional killer Villanelle. She disguised herself as a nurse to carry out an assassination mission in a special hospital. But this time, after killing someone, Villanelle didn't leave the scene right away. She remained in the same place for several days. She only waited for a woman to appear. It turns out that Villanelle used Eve's name when she signed in at the hospital that day. Eve realized that this was the killer's way of provoking her, so she decided to go to Berlin to investigate the scene. Villanelle waited 3 days for the woman she was waiting for. She smiled with relief. Not far away, Eve and Bill, who came with her, were exchanging information with local police officers on the roadside. As soon as she turned her head, her suitcase disappeared. On the other hand, Villanelle opened Eve's suitcase with interest to check Eve's personal clothes. She wrapped a green silk scarf around her neck. Something inside of her guided Villanelle. She found a woman with a similar hairstyle to Eve's and calls this strange woman Eve Pilastri. Satisfied, Villanelle continues to sneak up on Eve. Eve had to go shopping for clothes because she lost her suitcase. But Eve always felt that there was something lacking in the dress she was wearing. She pulled open the curtain of the fitting room. A belt was hanging in front of her eyes. She put the belt on and suddenly realized what she was missing. It's late afternoon. Eve left to meet the embassy commissioner to get the details of the autopsy. They offered to see Eve alone. So Bill drops Eve off at the subway station and heads back. But then a figure appeared next to them. Bill recognized the green scarf Villanelle was wearing was Eve's. He saw the killer was walking towards Eve's direction. He suddenly grabbed Villanelle and asked her where she bought the scarf. The train had already left by now. Bill succeeds in holding Villanelle in place. He followed her quietly after she turned to leave. But Villanelle had strong anti-surveillance skills. She soon discovered that Bill was following her. Bill then sent his tracks to Eve's voicemail. But Villanelle next walked into a rowdy bar. Bill was stopped for lack of privileges. He had to meekly go to the back of the line. At this point Eve also heard the message and left immediately. Bill waited in line for half an hour and finally got into the crowded bar. After a difficult search, he finally saw Villanelle's figure. Just when he was so excited, Villanelle had a strange smile on her face. Then she quickly walked towards Bill. Only then did Bill remember that he was following a psychopathic killer. But it was too late. The crowd made it difficult for him to move. Moments later Villanelle was already on him and stabbing him with a knife. The loud music and the commotion of life masked Villanelle's brutal killings. She quickly pulled away, leaving Bill shaking. It was only then that Eve arrived. She could only watch as Bill fell and screamed.